At this point, really sort of throw it open to you for sort of 5 or 10 minutes max. But any questions you may have to myself or other members of the team.
Yes, my name's Mike Fletcher. I may have missed it in the presentation, but one of the unique characteristics of Brentford is the number of world-class industries which are located here, such as GlaxoSmithKline, Heidelberg, the Oak Ferros, and Trickling Plato, which have vanished. Is there some way in which this industrial and commercial tradition of Brentford excellence in international commerce can be brought into helping Brentford forward, as regards perhaps, for instance, for GlaxoSmithKline in providing chemical or biotech routes for the young people in Brentford, in Heidelberg in providing routes from within Brentford. I think in Nigel's history he's focused on the water and all that, but really the key point of Brentford is the 20th century, and we've still got those industries now, and can we benefit from them? I believe GlaxoSmithKline invested in Brentford in the railway station, etc., and various things. Can we involve them more?
Thanks. You've been encouraged to know that you've already been engaging Glaxo and also JC Deco in discussions with the steering group. But I'm going to pass over to Tim to share some of his reflections on that question.
Okay. Well, thanks for the question. I think you're quite right. Brentford has a long-standing commercial history. Historically, Brentford commerce grew up around the connection between the river, the Great West Road, the Grand Union Canal, and the Great West Railway. And that's been the basis for the commercial development in Brentford. Obviously, times have changed and the nature of industry has changed. We are very lucky to have companies such as Heidelberg and Glaxo's investing in Brentford. They could quite easily have invested elsewhere. Glaxo's almost did. And so we're quite lucky to have them here. Attracting other larger industries to the area is probably not going to happen because it's not economically viable for these people to set up huge office buildings in Brentford, unfortunately. They would be better off elsewhere. However, getting the large companies more closely involved with the community. As President of the Chamber of Commerce, I can tell you that Glaxo's and Heidelberg have a huge involvement in our local community. They provide an awful lot of help and assistance to local voluntary groups. If any of their products or services would help us develop the south side of the high street, I'm sure they would be more than willing to get involved. And so I know that we have their support in what we're doing, and where they can support us with products and business services, I'm sure they will do. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Tim. Question? So a question from the gentleman on row 3 and then go back. Thanks. We'll also take a question from just behind you at the same time.
Well, just a follow-on to the previous one. That is, I've always been concerned that the big firms in Brentford don't seem to advertise all of what's a job locally. If they encourage local people at all levels to take jobs with them, there will be less commuting into London and follow on in terms of less blocked roads and so on and so forth. I'm also concerned that I don't get the impression that they are large supporters of the local brands. Do they actually order their stationery locally or not? That kind of thing. I would like to see more of that sort of help and interaction between the local big companies
Would you be happy to take on the challenge of the first question, maybe also Matt too, and then we'll sort of perhaps turn back to Tim for his thoughts on the second question.
Right. I think the observation about the Watermans, I think there's just two sides to it. The first thing was the perceived social benefit of having an arts centre in a more central location, which would provide easier access to a larger number of people, and it would contribute significantly to the general desire we've heard from lots of people that they would like more activities, greater sense of security and safety, more mixing of different generations and so on, and that providing an arts centre as a focus of that is actually one way of going towards that. The second one is a more pragmatic one, which is that the life expectancy and the practicality of this building is indeed quite limited. And with new technologies, with available today, we could actually have a much more efficient and effective and usable building. One thing we might have to forego, unfortunately, is the wonderful river frontage. But in the sense that, as Andrew said, in here, you can't hear or see the river go by. And we're the best from the world, and we're not a pub, really.
Yeah, just to back up a couple of quick points I was going to say in case Lee was a bit embarrassed to say so. That this building is not the best designed art centre you'll go to in the country. There were many faults with it. I was at the last concert held in the where the restaurant is now. I think it sold out at 15 quid a ticket and it still lost money. It's just not designed to work. And everything that we've looked at of building a new dedicated art centre in the town centre has been received positively. The point you made about the large companies using local industries, I agree with you entirely. As an aside, I was chatting with somebody at GSK about this, and could they, as you said, buy the stationery locally? And they struggle to, because they're large companies, they tend to have national contracts for all those kinds of things. And your point's well made that hopefully as the offices down the A4 grow, that we can encourage them to keep the money in that Brentford bucket.
Also on the local procurement side of it, I think one issue that we've been touching on, we haven't quite explored further yet, but is to look at a local procurement strategy for and between local voluntary groups and organisations and local businesses. So, for instance, I work for a local voluntary organisation. If I need printing done, I'll go to the local printers. And in the same way that if local businesses are going to be given to charities through their corporate responsibility hat-on, that they give it locally. So again, it's about we've gone through. You'll probably be pleased to hear this through the plugging the leaks process. This is about plugging those leaks, and it's about recycling the money that we've got in the local area. So these are all things that we need to take forward. So if anybody's volunteering out there to help do that, thanks, see us afterwards.
Okay, yeah, on the question of the larger businesses supporting local smaller businesses and employing local people, there are a number of issues here. I'm sure that Glaxo's, JCDecaux, Heidelberg's, all of these large concerns would very much like to employ local people. They'd like to employ people who live a few streets away from where they're based. However, they have to employ the people with the talents and skills that they need. And if those people aren't available locally, then they have to spread the net wider. I think it's probably true to say that more and more people who work at Glaxo's are living in the locality now, because it's a relatively recently built building. They're employing 3,000 or 4,000 people there, and they are gradually increasing the number of local people who work there. I know, for instance, a couple of my close neighbours have moved in fairly recently, but they also work at Glaxo's. So it is happening, but it will be a gradual process. The support of local businesses, I know that they try to support local businesses and local commerce where they're able to. Anybody in the locality who would be able to